Iguodala. Iguodala to Curry, back to Iguodala, up for the layup. Oh, blocked by James. Curry, one-on-one. Irving puts it up. It's good. Kyrie Irving from downtown. The three, steps back, crossover, puts up a three. Rebound James. Seconds. It's over. It's over. Cleveland is a city of champions once again. The Cavaliers are NBA champions.
Cleveland, this is for you.
Hello, Cavs fans. Welcome to another fun edition of the Block the Shot to Stop, a Cleveland Cavaliers podcast brought to you by the wonderful people over at the Bluewire Podcast Network. I'm Tim Daniel. Joining me today is Kevin Lynch. And I had to have Kevin with me today because we are discussing Kevin's current hometown team, the Chicago Bulls, who have a matchup with our beloved Cavaliers on Monday. And Kevin, I didn't just have you joining me. I had an old friend come to hang out today. Also a part of the Blue Wire Network covering the Chicago Bulls on the Cash Consideration podcast with Ricky O'Donnell. Literally every NBA podcast I've had in my lifetime, he has been a guest on at one point or another. So joining us for his first time on the Block the Shot to Stop to cover the Bulls and Cavs early this week is Jason Patt. Jason, how are you, man?
I am doing all right. It's great to be back on with you.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if you noticed or not, Jason. I'm pretty sure you did, but in our introduction music there, I a million percent stole my idea from you guys, so please don't sue me.
Don't worry about it. You're good.
Good. Well, I wanted to bring you on, obviously, like I said, so we're in our third matchup this season now coming up between Cleveland and Chicago. The two times, obviously, in the year Cleveland got big wins, one of them big an NBA Cup game. For you, kind of the outside looking in, before we get to kind of a Bulls discussion, what's kind of been your overall impression on the Cavs and what you've seen from them this year?
I mean, they've been awesome. They've been really fun to watch. I can't say I've watched a whole lot of Cavs basketball, but obviously as one of the best teams in the league, been following them a little bit in a Central Division squad as well. Obviously, the Bulls are not competing for anything in the division. The Cavs are running away with it and with one of the best records in the league. But I mean, it's been really cool to see just the growth of their team. I know, obviously, after last year's the playoff run, there was all the talk about are they going to break it up this year or coming in this year, and obviously they get a new coach. On the coaching front, it's very funny that JB Bickerstaff is leading this surge with the Detroit Pistons, and then after getting rid of him, the Cavs then jump to the next level. It's going to be interesting to see the coach of the year race there, but I mean, obviously everything has clicked for Cleveland this season. It's been between their starters. You got the Ty Jerome 6th Man of the Year campaign going. All these guys, just again, everything is clicking with Kenny Atkinson as the head coach. So, and I mean, their offense is ridiculous. One of the best offensives of all time. 3-point shooting, just everything. It's Evan Mobley taking the next step. So they're awesome. And obviously, there's going to be the questions: will they be able to do it in the playoffs and all that? But I wish I had a team that I could talk about, an actual real playoff team. But hey, maybe the Bulls will make the playoffs as out of the 10 seed as a 32-win team this season.
Would be the first time they went to the playoffs.
If that happened, they would play the Cavs. So maybe there will be a Bulls Cavs first round series. I would guess that probably won't happen, but you never know with the terrible Eastern Conference.
That's right. Okay, Kevin, sorry.
Jason, I want to share with you my Bulls story to get your reaction.
All right.
Before we get into this season and everything. So I've actually just moved back to Chicago. I lived here for a long time and then just moved back a few months ago. I'm going to take you back to the 2015-16 season. The Bulls had several good years right before this. This is the Derrick Rose, Joakim Noah, Jimmy Butler, Luol Deng era. And I decided I'd never been a Bulls fan, but obviously a lot of my friends were. I was like, I'm going all in on the Bulls this year. So much so I split season tickets with someone, right? And I was like, I'm going to become at least a pseudo Bulls fan this year. So I invested roughly $5,000 in splitting season tickets 3 months before I was getting married. Did not tell my at the time fiance. Luckily, she still married me. Opening night, they played against the Cavs. First game, LeBron back in Cleveland. Amazing game. The Bulls actually won. And then a couple games later, Derrick Rose gets hurt. And a couple of days later, Jimmy Butler gets hurt. And I thought I would sell 3 or 4 games and make all my money back, and instead I couldn't give away tickets by the end of the year. So I know you're a tortured Bulls fan, but I want to tell you my one experience of being a tortured Bulls fan. It was enough for me to walk away from a fan of the team.
Yeah, I mean, that was 2015-16. That would be Fred Hoiberg's first season, I believe.
Yes.
And it was after Tom Thibodeau, after the Cavs beat the Bulls in the 2015 second round. That's the last time the Bulls have been in the second round of the playoffs. And yeah, that year was Fred Hoiberg. I was so excited about Hoiberg. And yeah, they were like, I think they won like 37 games that year. They were super mid. And then we had the goofy 3 alphas thing with Jimmy, Dwayne Wade, and Rajon Rondo. And then they've been basically awful ever since they traded Jimmy. 1 playoff season, 1 playoff win. Great stuff. It's been what really just great years to do a Bulls podcast. When we first started, I can't even remember how long we've been doing it now, but like we started, I think during the Jim Boylan years, which was like, they were awful, but like at least we could like kind of make fun of Jim Boylan. The last few years have just been just like miserable because they're so mid, and it's been just like the same thing over and over. Like this year, they're a bit different, but they're still mid, probably closer to bad than mid, like they were the last couple of years, but still again in the 10th spot. And it does not look like they're going to give that up. Maybe they will, but again, the Eastern Conference is brutal. And yeah, it's been obviously saw them win a lot of championships when I was 9 years old. And they had a few good years with like D Rose, but yeah, I mean the last basically decade of Bulls basketball has been awful.
Yeah, I just went on record with you that I made an honest attempt at being a Bulls fan, and
that timing
costing me thousands of dollars and almost my marriage. So no, man, but I mean, we'll get into the Bulls and the Cavs both their season and talk about the game itself, but like, I mean, you used the word mid about 5 times already, and it's a very good word to describe the Bulls. Like, why don't the Bulls just try and go one way or the other? Why are they so dead set on we're just going to be a play-in team every year, not get a good enough draft pick to get, super high prospects, but also not put enough money into the team or, make the kind of trades to be in a win now mode?
Right. I mean, the money stuff is, ownership, Jerry Reinsdorf, notoriously, historically thrifty, however you want to cheap, whatever you want to call it. They've only paid the luxury tax, I believe, twice with Reinsdorf as owner, something like that. But I mean, the mid part, that's on the front office, Arturas Karnisovas as the exec and Mark Eversley, the GM. They made the moves, what was that, 4 or 5 years ago now to get Tamar, Alex Caruso, and the Vooch trade in general. And like, it worked for 40, 50 games. And then Lonzo Ball got hurt. Lonzo Ball got hurt. And then they just never pivoted off it, even with Lonzo out for 2.5 years. And Lonzo has been like one of the better stories of this year for the Bulls, being back from his like meniscus cartilage transplant, whatever the hell he got done, which I'm curious if Joel Embiid has to go that route at some point, but that's neither here nor there. And just like AK's just been so slow to react. He hasn't reacted at all. It's just been every time they had a chance to seem like, hey, let's sell off these guys. Let's go towards rebuilding through the lottery. So he's held on to guys. He held on to DeMar. He held on to Zach. Held on to Caruso. Vooch is still here. Obviously, they finally traded Zach this year, and this offseason, they finally move on from DeMar. They trade Alex Caruso, but they only do it for Josh Giddey. And then this year, like, I do think they were like probably coming in this year thinking that they would be bad. Not like bad. I never thought they'd be like bottom 5 bad this year. There were some really bad teams out there. And like, I didn't think the Bulls were ever going to be that bad, but then they start the year and like Zach and Vooch are having like career shooting seasons. Like Vooch was shooting like 60% after like 2 months of the year. I'm like, what is this? Like, this is outrageous. And Zach was shooting ridiculously like 45% from 3. Like, obviously Zach's pretty good, but like if Zach and Vooch had been as they were expected, and like Lonzo was like, whatever, he's given so much more. He's been impactful. The Bulls probably would be like 5 or 6 games worse, and they probably would be like clearly like out, like not a play-in team. But all those things happened, and they've finally started to come back and like lose games. I think they're like 5-15 or 5-16. They started 18-20. They're 30. They're 23-36. So that's 5-16 over the last 21 games. So they finally started losing, but too late. And these other teams, Philadelphia 76ers, have been even worse. And here's how, and they're just like damned to the 10 seed, it feels like.
Yeah, we're recording this the day after. So we're recording this a couple days before the actual game, just because Kevin and I will be traveling. But we're recording this the night after the Bulls took the Clippers to the wire. and did lose. So it's like, a reassuring Bulls loss in that sense.
Yes.
But yeah, kind of where they're at. I want to kind of ask real quick. One thing particular on the Cleveland side is Javonte Green just signed with the Cavs as a buyout candidate, and I covered the Bulls for a little while before I covered the Cavs, obviously for On Tap, and I really, really always enjoyed Javonte Green.
Yeah.
The way I've kind of described him is like a 3-level defender, right? Like he's a guy you can kind of rely on. You can guard 1 through 5. But in Cleveland, it's really funny because if he's another playoff team, he's probably playing big time minutes. He just made his Cavs debut last night in the Orlando game when they were up 40 in garbage time. But I still feel like it's a really good signing. It really like ups their depth for the wing with guys like bringing in DeAndre Hunter. But what was kind of your impressions of Javonte Green? And obviously was a really likable Bulls player for a while.
Yeah, I mean, Stacey King had his whole bit. There's like 5 Javantes out there. He's a sick dunker. So he can, and I mean, he's like 6'4", 6'5", but he can like throw him out there and he'll try to guard anybody. Like you said, 1 through 5. I mean, just huge energy guy. That said the dunking, defense, okay shooter, but yeah, I mean, just a guy. If you need a jolt of energy, Javante's going to come in there. He's going to give it to you. So yeah, like I mean, in like a Cavs playoff rotation, like is he going to be in it? I don't know, but like if you need him, or again need a spark of energy, like you're lagging or something, throw Javonte out there. He'll get all over the court for you. Yeah, super likable guy. Really, it is a really nice depth signing. I mean, just the Cavs definitely like the moves that they've made, but with the Hunter's obviously had like just a great season. I had mocked DeAndre Hunter very much after he stunk in the play-in game last year for the Hawks, but I know he coming in with the Hawks this year, he's been really good. So like pretty good trade there to turn, because that was a Levert and what was it?
Niang.
For Hunter. When Hunter's going good, I mean, that's I know the Cavs needed an upgrade on the wing, so that's nice. And yeah, Javonte for just a cheap depth deal. Good stuff. Love it. Like I said, he's really super likable guy, fan favorite. So hope he gets some minutes here and there. Like I said, he'll give you some highlight reel dunks and just some energy play and get the crowd into it.
Yeah. I'm certainly excited for Javonte Green. I'm curious, like how. All right, I'm just going to ask the question I was going to ask later, but like, because I'm known as the kind of I don't know, not negative one, but I'm not as rosy as Tim on the show. Everybody, I feel all the Bulls fans I talk to, the silver lining for the season is Lonzo Ball, right? He's back, he's playing and everything. Has anybody looked at Lonzo Ball's stats?
I mean, his shooting percentages are terrible.
He's like 36% from the floor, only averaging 7 points a game. I guess it's a good. I mean, it is a good story just because of how much he's been through, and by all accounts, seems like a good guy, and obviously worked incredibly hard to come back. But like, are there any other bright spots with the Bulls?
On the Lonzo front, the fact that he's played and like not hurt his knee at all, it feels like a miracle, because like the surgery that he had, like I said, it was like the transplant thing. Like, I don't know if anybody's ever. Like there might have been like 1 or 2 other guys, and I don't know if anyone's done it and then like come back and played in the NBA. And if you look at like so deeper at like some of like the on-off stats and like that kind of thing, he's got some pretty good plus minus, and obviously single game plus minus, whatever. But like over the course of the year, I think he has like the best plus minus on the team. I haven't looked in a while, but he when the Bulls were like doing okay early this year, and by okay I mean they were actually mid 18 and 20, like. He was like a +6 or like +7 net rating on the court. So like he was making an impact, and his defense is still good. Besides that, I mean, looking at the team right now, the team right now is just kind of in a weird spot after the Zach trade. I mean, they got 3 guys back there with Kevin Huerter and Zach Collins and Trey Jones. And then, I mean, again, Vooch is still around, except he's out right now. We'll see. I'm not sure. Like, I'm not really sure what's going on with his injury. Like, he all of a sudden just like popped up on the injury report a couple days ago, and then just like hasn't played the last couple days. And Vooch usually never misses time. So like, I'm really curious what's going on there, because again, he's usually very durable and healthy. But like, I don't know if they're like kind of trying to soft tank it with him, and just like he's just like mailing it in. He's making $20 million like on this rebuilding team, but we'll see if he plays. I think he's out again tomorrow when the Bulls play the Raptors, and then next week we'll see against the Cavs. It's like that. You got that going on. Josh Giddey is all of a sudden playing out of his mind. He's shooting like 80% from 3 over the last 4 or 5 games. Just absolutely bizarre stuff. We probably talk about him a bit more later, but I mean, otherwise positive stuff. I mean, I mentioned those three guys. Like Zach Collins had like the best game of his career last night against the Clippers out of nowhere. Kevin Huerter made 7 threes against the Sixers the other night. Trey Jones had shot 7 of 9 yesterday. Like, so these guys have come in and like they've had some good games, and there's that. I mean, Kobe White's still pretty good. I wouldn't say Kobe's been kind of like the same as last season. Last season he took a big leap, huge leap, especially with Zach out, and obviously Zach's now gone again, but lately it's kind of been Giddey taking over instead of Kobe. But Kobe's had a nice season. He's a fun player. He can go on big heaters. But besides that, like Modest Buzelis showing some signs. Obviously, the dunk contest is not
getting
go
to
well
play
for him.
Yeah,
He's playing more. He's been starting with Patrick Williams out, and Patrick Williams is going to be out. I think he might be out the rest of the season. Definitely not a positive spot. Patrick Williams, he's been a disaster this year, but
yes.
It's given his injury and his bad play, whatever you want to call it, has given Modest a chance to start and get more minutes. Been hit or miss, but I mean, he's a 19-year-old rookie, just learning the league, and I want him to play as much as possible the rest of the season. Billy is still trying to make him earn it. He's really not getting consistent closing minutes. He's still kind of going with some more of these veteran guys, or as AK likes to say, young guys with experience, whatever that means. But so yeah, like again, there's not really that many things where you can like really hang your hat on as a Bulls fan. Like again, right now, like the best thing going is Josh Giddey putting up like insane numbers. Do I think that's a great thing? No, because I don't really want the Bulls to give Josh Giddey like a 4-year, $100+ million contract, and I have a feeling like if he keeps doing this,
it's coming
in the goofy part of the season. And I was actually looking at some stats today, like his last 2 seasons, his like marches have been incredible. So it's like Josh Giddey's done this before. The post All-Star break, when things get kind of goofy, that's when Josh Giddey really shines, and he's doing it again. And now he's doing it for a contract push. I mean, maybe it's for real this time, and he won't just go back to being a pumpkin like he was to start this season. But that's kind of the thing. Like again, for the Cavs, like Josh Giddey's really been killing it. So if like the Bulls are going to upset the Cavs, watch out for like a 25, 15, and 8 Josh Giddey game, and he can't miss threes somehow now. So we'll see.
The Bulls and Tim, I'll turn back to you. The Bulls, I swear, have like 10 guys on their team that make me say, wait, that guy plays for the Bulls.
Yeah, I mean, like the Zach trade, bringing in again Trey Jones, Kevin Huerter, Zach Collins. Like, oh, these guys are all on the Bulls. Like, I mean, they have Taylor Horton Tucker on the end of their bench, which is kind of crazy.
That was one of them.
Jalen Smith, I think should be back. Again, Vooch is out.
He's been decent.
Protocol. Yeah, he's been fine. He's solid.
Yeah.
So him and like Zach Collins, man in the center spot, if Vooch is out. Like I said, Zach Collins has somehow had 2 huge games out of nowhere the last couple nights. Sure, why not? That's basically like the Bulls right now. It's like, sure, why not? They're going to get up a ton of threes. I know the Cavs are like the best 3-point shooting team. Like the Bulls have been shooting the lights out from 3 too, and they're taking the second most. They went from basically like the lowest 3-point rate team the last couple of years with DeMar here. He's gone. Now the Bulls are getting up like 43, 44 threes a game and shooting like 37, 38%. So like they have nights where they make 20+ threes. Like they can stay in games. If they don't do that, the Cavs will absolutely wipe the floor. I'm like just real nasty.
Well, I think the NBA Cup game, it was one of those ones where like the Bulls shot incredibly well. Like it was they played really well. I think they scored like 103 points, but it was like they just didn't stop anything. So like, they shot really well.
Yeah, their defense, the Bulls' defense is terrible. They are one of the worst defensive teams in the league, and the Cavs will most likely tear them up. But again, the Bulls can keep it close if they also are hitting 19, 23s, which they have done many times this season because they have shot pretty darn well. Again, it was Zach Vooch earlier in the year. Now Josh Giddey can't miss threes, and like Kobe's a good 3-point shooter. Some of these other guys, I mean, they get up. Even some of their like lesser shooters, they get them up. So like that has been a point of emphasis is just getting up threes because they can't really do anything else that well. So to try to make up for that the talent gap, they get up threes. Then they play the variance game, and obviously, again, it hasn't worked that well in terms of record because they don't do anything else very good. But that's how they stay competitive is by making a ton of threes.
So you mentioned Kobe White, and I kind of really want to kind of go back to this because obviously, like you said, last year took this really big jump, played really, really well for like really long stretches. And this year has kind of been around the same. It's fascinating to me because in the sense of Cleveland, Chicago, sliding doors, I mean, what the Bulls draft Kobe White in that draft and Darius Garland drops to, I mean, with the Cavs draft Kobe White, like it very well could have gone that way.
Yeah.
And so obviously Darius Garland has really just like taken this incredible leap this year. Like I've said, I really think in the half court offense, he's the best point guard in the league right I just really think his way of kind of running this offense, a lot has to do with who he has playing with him, obviously. But do you kind of find it wild, like that those two, I understand they were obviously drafted in the same class, they're 2 picks apart from each other, but it always kind of seems like they've always been kind of linked to each other, kind of looking career side by side.
I honestly totally forgot about that. And obviously Garland's career has been kind of interesting. Like he was very good. And I mean, last year, I know he dealt with all the injury stuff, and that definitely clearly just kind of screwed him up. And yeah, this year he's been just absolutely incredible. And he's taken that big leap. And Kobe's career has also been kind of all over the place. Like first few seasons, he would have those big, just killer games, and he was so streaky, but he'd have games where he hit like 7 or 8 threes, and like he would go off, and then like the next 5 games he couldn't make anything. And there was a point I was close to being basically done with him, but they've kept him, they've never traded him. And then last year Zach goes down early, and then Kobe plays like an all-star for basically 2 or 3 months, and he's putting up 20 some points per game on crazy efficiency. And it's like, oh my God, where did this guy come from? Like, this is an insane leap in year 5 or whatever it was. And then like towards the end of the year, he kind of fell back down to earth, and he was playing huge minutes. Now this year, obviously Zach was back until the trade, and some of the other guys that have been put with Giddey there too, Lonzo back. Like he has kind of like plateaued, and I really don't know if he's got another level, but he's still a good player. I am curious to see like what the Bulls do with him. He's on a really cheapo contract. It's like $12 million a year. He's got 1 more year next year. I thought there were rumors about trading him, and I thought they should have really thought about doing that if they could get a lot for him, simply because he is on this cheap deal. And like if there were teams I thought could really use him as just another shooting scoring option. If the Bulls are going to be rebuilding for a couple of years, like, are you paying like, is Kobe going to stay when he's up for a big raise in the next year or two? But they kept him. We'll see what happens the rest of the year and into the offseason. But it was cool to see him last year really take that leap.
For sure.
He has hit his ceiling? I would guess probably. I don't know if he's got another gear to his game, but either way, even if he has, he's still a really nice player. I think I would love to see him go play on a winning team and help a team actually win meaningful playoff games. I would have loved to see him in Oklahoma City, Orlando. I thought could have really used him, but he's still here, and we'll see how it goes.
I legit, and Kevin, I'll pass back to you after I say this, but I legit had a second there where I thought before the Luka trade, I was like, man, Kobe White may be really good playing off LeBron James.
Yeah.
Really had that thought for a little while. It's like the money's not terrible. Like the Lakers can afford it.
Yeah.
And obviously, it worked out pretty well for the Lakers.
Yes,
it ended up happening. But
so don't let Tim fool you. He's still Kobe White's like number 3 fan. Like you'll never quit him. Yeah. No, so Jason, I want to talk to you. And I guess comparing the Cavs and the Bulls, like we're just talking about Darius Garland, Kobe White being in the same draft, kind of a sliding doors moment. We just did a podcast over the All-Star break because we couldn't go a whole week without talking about basketball, called like how the 24-25 Cavs were built. It's basically the 6-year story of how Kobe Altman and the front office like were patiently built this team, got the stars, and then put the rest of the team in place around them and everything. First of all, it's a great listen. If anybody's on here and hasn't listened to that one yet, it's one of the most fun podcasts I think we've done. Sure. But like, what do the Bulls need to do so that if 3-4 years from now you're saying the same kind of story? Because like in a very quick fashion, the Cavs, it started with drafting Garland, and they get like a couple of good role players in Dean Wade, Isaac Okoro, all within a year, and then within like 6 months of each other, they get Jared Allen, Donovan Mitchell, and Evan Mobley. It might be 12 months. And then they build out the team from there. So obviously some of that's luck and some of it's really good front office work. But like, how do the Bulls go about that 3 or 4 years from now? You could tell a similar story like we get to tell about the Cavs this year.
Get Cooper Flag this year. Get Cameron Boozer next year. Ideally, AJ DeBonsa. Yeah, they need to get lucky in the draft because again, like they've done this whole middle thing, and the problem is like right now they just don't have a young core that you can say like, oh yeah, like these guys are gonna be good. Again, their young core is like, I guess you could still say Kobe White's. He's like 24, 25, but he's been in the league for a while. Again, they like to say that young guys with experience, but like Kobe White's good. How good is he? What is he? A top? I don't even know what you'd call Kobe White, like a top 60 player, 50-ish, 70, something like that in the NBA. Like, I don't know. Like, I don't even, that might be generous. Josh Giddey, again, we know he's playing really well right now, but like, are you relying on him as like a foundational player? No. Patrick Williams is awful. He's hurt. Bazelis, we'll see. Like, could he turn into that? Sure, but like, we need to see a lot more from that and a lot more development there. And like, then they have a bunch of other like okay young guys. Sumu, Julian Phillips, like Dalen Terry's not good. Although he did have 17 points against the Sixers, because everyone does well against the Sixers these days. So yeah, you just look at the young core. It's just really, you can't hang your hat on really any of it right now. Like I said, Modest is the guy with the highest ceiling. I mean, again, maybe Josh Giddey's for real now. All of a sudden, skeptical, but they need to get lucky in the draft. Like I don't think they're really going to be building this thing over the next couple of years. Maybe AK tries to do some star hunting and trades, but like they don't have that many. If a disgruntled star or whatever, some other star that comes on the market, like they're probably not going to say, "Oh, I want to go to the Bulls," and the Bulls just don't have the asset base to like compete with offers. Like if they're going to get somebody like big in a trade, it's probably gonna be someone that's like not that coveted. So like they don't have extra assets because they had like all the guys they traded too late, so they haven't gotten extra draft capital. So like they have most of their picks, I think, at this point now, but they don't have extra stuff. So like they can't compete with some of those other big offers they can make. They're not going to sign anybody probably. I mean, no one's going to come to the Bulls to play for this like mediocre team with like okay young players. So like they probably have to build through the draft. They just like have to get that through the head. Like, and I'm not like a big tanking guy, but like this year was an obvious tanking season. With the Zach trade, they did get rid of the pick that they owed the Spurs top 10. So like even if they don't lose that pick now, if they somehow fall outside the top 10, and that pick was also like 8. I think top 8 protected the next couple of years, something like that. So like I wanted them to tank this season and next season. So like get whatever, even if it's not Cooper Flag this year, get one of these other guys in the top 5. And then next year too, get AJ DeBonsa, get Cameron Boozer. And then if you have like the 2 high level picks there, along with Modest Buzelis and then whatever other guys you have from, whether it's Josh Giddey or you still have Kobe, then you can maybe build something out from there and whatever. Maybe then you make a big trade for somebody, or you add some free agents who want to play with these young stars. That's probably the way it's got to go. Like I don't really see any other way, like building from the middle. So again, like this year, if they are the 10 seed, like I need them to lose in the play-in tournament. At least give me a chance to get Cooper Flag. And even if they don't, you draft someone like the 7th or 8th, and hopefully they turn out well. They've drafted around 7 way too much, but
they have drafted 7 way too much.
Too often, but whatever. Give me a top 10 pick this year. And then again, I think next year I would hope they would look to actually like bottom out for this insane draft class with Cameron Boozer, with AJ DeBonsa and Darren Peterson. My guy Ricky O'Donnell and Cash says it's like one of the best, at least at the very top, the best classes he's seen in a while with those 3 guys. And there's probably other good players too. I'm not a big draft guy, but he talks about those 3 guys all the time. So like, if the Bulls are going to actually like tank, they got to do it next season and try to get in the mix for one of those guys. And then from there, if they get lucky, again, there's always a bit of luck that goes into this stuff, as you guys know. Get luck with your picks, with staying healthy and all that. But that's my path. We'll see if they actually follow it, or if they try to do something drastic and like make a big trade this offseason and try to build from the middle, which has not worked well for them yet, but we will see.
One more quick follow-up, Tim, and I'll pass it to you. How do the Bulls have virtually no other teams' picks? They've traded back to their own. Caruso.
Yeah, right. I mean, DeMar DeRozan
go for nothing.
DeMar DeRozan, they could have traded like a year or 2 ago. They didn't, and they got basically a 2nd-round pick out of it, I believe, and Chris Duarte, who is not on the team any longer. Alex Caruso, we know what happened there. They love Josh Giddey. So they traded for the team that has the most picks in the league. They traded their best trade asset to that team and did not get a single pick from them because they love Josh Giddey so much. Zach LaVine, they got their own pick. They got the rights to their own pick, 1st-round pick back. Last season, they also could have traded Andre Drummond for multiple 2nd-round picks to the Sixers. Right. They did not do that. And then the Sixers signed him anyways, and he sucks. And he can't even play now. But the Bulls could have gotten some seconds out of that and didn't do that either because they just had to make a run to the play-in tournament, and they didn't even win there either. So, like, again, just waiting way too long, just being paralyzed and not I think, like, I don't know if, like, since the Vooch trade, since that's kind of backfired because they ended up sending 2 high picks to the Magic because of that trade. Like, I don't know if AK is now just like freaked out about losing trades because what happened there. And he just like won't make trade. I mean, we've heard there have been so many reports about what was on the table for Caruso and teams willing to make big offers there. I'm sure you could have gotten something for DeMar a couple of years ago when he was really rolling. And DeMar is still playing pretty well for the Kings. Zach's kind of a different story because the contract and the injury stuff, but still, yeah, no extra picks like anywhere because all these moves, you built this team and you put in all the stuff for Vooch. You traded a first for DeMar, which you got back.
Literally.
I mean, and then these guys you have, then you just wait too long to trade them. You get nothing back, nothing extra back in return. So
yeah,
it has been. I mean, I think everyone, like, you look around the league, I think everyone thinks he's the worst GM or whatever. He's not the GM. He's the EVP. I think most people think the Bulls have the worst front office in the league. I mean, maybe it's Nico Harrison and the Mavs now, but most teams would, I think, put the Bulls there at the bottom just because they have done this. They've spun their wheels for 3-4 years. I mean, they went like 3 years without making a trade. I mean, how insane is that? Like, it's like you're one, like you have a few jobs as a GM. It's like draft guys, sign guys, trade guys, and they didn't do one of them for literally like three straight years, and it was crazy. And like the drafting has just been okay. So like they haven't done anything well, and then obviously you're hamstrung by the ownership too. So it's been a rough time for this management.
Yeah, Tim, I'm going to ask you a question, kind of because and Jason, you can hop in here as well. Like that is one, and I'm not like in any way trying to pick on the Bulls, but like
you should pick on the Bulls. Please do pick on the Bulls. They deserve it.
One thing that you basically said, like sometimes the worst action is inaction, basically, and that's what the Bulls have a history of doing, right? Is just sitting on their hands.
Yep.
That is one thing, again, Kobe Altman and the Cavs have done incredibly well, is they were opportunistic. They weren't going out and making crazy deals or anything, but they waited till they first of all, did really well in the draft, particularly to draft Garland and Mobley. And then getting Jared Allen for peanuts just to be a third team in a trade to make the money.
Or the Harden trade, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's great stuff. Great work.
And then striking, once they get those three guys in place, then you get Donovan Mitchell and you give up your assets and you kind of have your team. So Tim, all that's to say, like, the Cavs are awesome. What do you want to talk about the Cavs? Because
that's true. I mean, really, if you go back to Donovan Mitchell, if Kobe Altman doesn't make the deal for Lauri Markkanen, we're not having this conversation.
Mm-hmm.
And so that, like, kind of having Jason that kind of starts it all. Yeah, I mean, obviously, we guys, like, I think Cleveland definitely had some luck in the draft for sure, but Chicago's played a part in that. Thank you for drafting Patrick Williams and letting Isaac Okoro drop to us. Definitely appreciate it. By the way, I thought Patrick Williams was going to be awesome. I flat out was a believer.
He had a really nice rookie season. I mean, he started most of that year, and I mean, he's had just so many different injury problems, and just he's never shown that dog in him. And the injuries have hurt, and like this, and then this year, like, it's been shockingly bad. And now he's hurt, and who knows if he plays again. So it's has just not. And except now he's making $18 million a year. So great stuff here.
Yeah, is it fair to say in the 2020s our best draft pick has been Julian Phillips?
I mean, Io.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
So, but 1 and 2, and Dalen Terry not good.
Definitely not Dalen Terry.
But yeah, I think as far as like the Cleveland side of things like that, but Houston doing them a favor, taking Jalen Green, obviously, and letting Mobley drop to him. But it is really fascinating to see just kind of how I don't think it's fair to say going in actually might be opposite directions, the way that these two franchises are going.
Yep.
When realistically, one is the third biggest market in the league.
They don't act like it.
And the other is Cleveland, Ohio. You know what I mean? So it's crazy.
The Bulls skate on Michael Jordan and nostalgia. I've been to one Bulls game this year. It was D-Rose night, and it was cool. It was cool. Like, it was they won. They beat the Knicks. They smoked them. They hit a million threes, and all that stuff was great. But I mean, that's what gets it's like the only thing that fans get excited about is it's D-Rose night. Oh, it's like something with the '90s Bulls and Michael Jordan, like the Ring of Honor. Except last year when they did the Ring of Honor thing, they booed Jerry Krause's widow.
And it's Warriors.
I know that was crazy, but like that, and it's so funny that you say that because that is like a baseball move to do. Baseball tries to go on nostalgia all the time, right? And it makes sense because Ryan Storff owns the White Sox too. Not that there's a long lineage there, but that is it's a shame because. I can't say, even not as a Bulls fan, living in Chicago as long as I have, the times that they have had a winner, even a playoff team. I remember when I first moved to Chicago, was the Ben Gordon, Kirk
Yep.
Heinrich teams.
Love
and
that. I love those teams.
The city gets so just fired up and behind the team if they're anywhere close to good. And it's really a shame that, the last decade, as you said, Jason, has kind of gone the way it has, and that there's not like a clear path towards, turning it around quickly. Yeah.
Especially because, like, not just that. I mean, when the Sky won the title a couple years ago, the city was like really behind them.
Yeah.
So it's like it's definitely a passion.
City knows about winning basketball from a long time ago, and like we get fired up for it. And now just craving it. I mean, when the team when they had the 60 games, it was like 40 with Lonzo, but they were good. It was such a breath of fresh air, and they were so fun, and the fans were just ready for a team that was good and competitive and fun to watch, and they were just ripped out with the Lonzo stuff, but. Yeah, and I mean, the fans still go to the United Center. They're still one of the top attendance teams.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing will that's when fans actually stop going, and that's what kind of was the impetus for like Garpax getting fired in 2020 was they were embarrassed at All-Star Weekend because it was in Chicago. I was there, and like Zach LaVine was like on like a morning show, and people were chanting "Fire Garpax," and then like the fans stopped going. Like it was right before like the COVID year. That was the COVID year, but like the attendance dropped, and like that, it's like, oh, like Bulls fans actually not going to games, like that's a problem here.
Mm-hmm.
I'm curious to see if that starts happening again, like the rest of this season or in the next year if fans stop going. I do think if they actually pick a direction, actually try to go rebuild, like get some really good young players in through the draft, I think fans will still. You can sell that, which is like AK. Like I don't know why he doesn't do that because. It would give him, I think, more job security. Be like, all right, we're going to rebuild. Like, this is our plan. We're going to bring some young talent in here. We're going to let me play this out instead of doing what he's been doing. Like, you would think for like job security purposes, you could sell that to ownership. But again, it has not been the way they've been going. But for now, like they still are again super high in attendance because I think people like treat Bulls games out. It's like just a really fun night out with like the family. Although obviously prices are kind of high, but so yeah. Obviously, like if they were getting White Sox attendance, that would be a bit different because there's like hundreds of people at those games, but you're still getting 20,000 in United Center every night. So if that changes, maybe we see something. But like I said, right now, like I mean, front office does not seem to be in trouble. Billy Diamond doesn't seem to be in trouble, and they're just kind of meandering along this season.
I joke often that I think Mark Eversley once a week, when AK is just walking down the hallway, checks in and goes like, "Hey, is today the day we talk about getting Zion? Is today the day?"
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it would not surprise me if that was something they tried to do at all. Like I talk about making like a drastic move, like, oh yeah, like let's bring in Zion to like one of the other ones I've joked about is LaMelo Ball. They got Lonzo there already. The Hornets are a joke. So hey, we're gonna go straight for LaMelo Ball and sell some LaMelo Ball jerseys. We're gonna have the Ball brothers throwing lobs to Modest Bazelis. We're gonna still win like 35 games because LaMelo's hurt every other night and isn't actually that good, even if he's fun to watch when he's going. So like that, I mean, that'd be like the most Bulls move is trading for LaMelo Ball.
Jason's going to get me in trouble because like the 3 times LaMelo Ball has come up on this program,
yeah,
I get like roasted online. I'll just say LaMelo Ball has the highest shots per 100 possessions.
I was going to say
Kobe Bryant in 2007 this year, and I don't think he's the best player since 2007. Kobe Bryant.
Yeah, I would say not. I mean, the guy loves shooting his like one-legged, off-balance threes, and he loves twisting his ankle all the time. So that's basically the story of LaMelo Ball.
I guess I'll ask you this from the outsider looking at it again before we get out of here. Bring the Cavs back into the conversation. Like you said, I know you're not watching them every night like we are, but obviously you have mentioned like being just impressed with how well they've played. When you look at the Eastern Conference besides Boston, do you think like Indiana or Milwaukee or any of those teams can really give them fits in a 7-game set?
I mean, I would think, just obviously they have to do it and they have to prove it. So, but like they've been so good, and I feel like I don't have the numbers like in front of me. I feel like if you look at just like historically, just like how good they've been, and you look at like their net rating and stuff like that, like usually a team that does that is like going to the Eastern Conference Finals at the very least. Like again, will they beat Boston? I don't know. I mean, Boston is obviously they were finding their groove again, and we know they're the defending champs, and they shoot a million threes, and they can play defense when they're locked in, and they have stars. Like that's a whole nother beast. But like, I mean, the Bucks, whatever. Like Giannis is awesome, but like I don't think they can keep up with the Cavs. And like the Cavs can obviously throw big bodies at Giannis. make life hard on him. The Pacers have turned things around really nicely after their really slow start. Halliburton's figured things out. But like the Cavs they've had so much fun. I feel like they'd have to have like a team-wide brutal shooting slump to get upset by one of those teams. If it's not Cavs Celtics in the East Conference Finals, I'd be shocked. Like the Knicks, as we've seen, no shot against the elite teams. What is it, 0-7 now? And the Cavs beat them by what the other night? Like 40.
Just about.
The Knicks cannot stop. The Knicks cannot stop these high-powered teams. Their defense is just not good enough. So like, I just don't see how the Cavs and Celtics are just way too good again. It's injury, or like if the Cavs again they somehow shoot like 25% from three in a playoff series. I mean, you never know. I'm not going to say like guarantee here, but like it would be just looking at historically and again their net ratings and stuff like that. It'd be shocking if it's not Cavs Celtics. And would they beat the Celtics? I can't rule it out. They've been playing so well. If they're locked in, and especially if some of these bench guys continue playing so well, obviously that's can be fickle in playoff settings. Like, is Ty Jerome going to be awesome in the playoffs? I don't know, but I mean, they've been awesome so far. And again, a team that's that good in the regular season, it'd be a surprise to see them really flame out.
Ty Jerome will be awesome every day for the rest of the month. I'm convinced.
Yeah, I mean, best contract in basketball right now, realistically, probably 1 year, like $2.5 mil, I think is what it is. So
it's crazy.
It won't be that low next year for sure.
No.
In Cleveland or not. But Jason, man, I'm really excited to have you back on. Man, you gave us about 40 minutes of your time. I'm really grateful that you hung out with us, and we got to do a nice Blue Wire crossover for the Cavs Bulls game. Before we do get out of here, though, for those who don't know, tell them about Cash Considerations, what you and Ricky talk about. It's one of my favorite podcasts to listen to on a weekly basis. By all means, man, shout out the floor.
Yeah, Cash Considerations. It is also a Blue Wire pod, as mentioned, with my guy Ricky O'Donnell. What do we talk about every week? We complain about how useless the ball season is, and it's not going anywhere. But we'll have plenty of draft talk coming up. We got the NCAA tournament coming up, so we'll definitely talk about the tournament and some draft prospects. Ricky's a big draft guy. He had a mock draft come out at SB Nation, I think, today. So he's always good to check that kind of stuff out. And so he covers me. I watch like Illinois basketball and not much other college basketball, so I don't really know the draft guys like he does. So he always fills me in on that, and that's always good. And obviously this year, hopefully we'll have a high pick to talk about. But yeah, that's Cash Considerations, H Cowboys podcast, part of the Blue Wire Network. You can follow me on social media, Bulls J. Again, if you're still on Twitter, follow me there. Trying to post more in Blue Sky.
I was going to say, we're a Blue Sky podcast.
I'm on Blue Sky. I'm trying to bring most of my stuff there. Fuck Twitter. Sorry. But I still do some posting both ways, but I'm trying to do more at Blue Sky and build up the base over there. I'm also at Bulls J there. And then I work at Clutch Points, so check out clutchpoints.com too. And yeah, that's it.
Perfect. Well, man, we definitely appreciate it. I know we have one more of these after this one on Monday this season. I think that's like right around. We'll kind of have the idea of the playoff seeds at that point, though. So, but with that being said, we're going to go ahead and wrap up.
Maybe only one more. Just wait until it's Bulls Cavs in the first round. Just wait for it.
That would be awesome.
Kev can go to playoff games.
I'd be so pumped.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you can get it, and you'll have a nice cakewalk to the second round against the 32-win Chicago Bulls.
And if any of Jason's friends or listeners hear this and they do want to start protesting and not going to games and want to sell their tickets for Tuesday night to me for the Cavs game, hit us up, block the shot to stop on any social media spot.
Yes, absolutely. So once again, thank you all for tuning in. If you're checking us out for the first time, please subscribe to us on YouTube or your podcast app of choice. Leave us a nice solid 5-star review if you have a moment as well. On behalf of Kevin Lynch, on behalf of Skylar Webker, this is Tim Daniel. Friendly reminder, we will not be live after the Bulls game. We will be going up the next morning due to some technical stuff we have going on over at Blue Wire. But everyone have a good night. Thanks for tuning in. And as always,
go Cavs.